So now that former President Trump is a criminal defendant, there are questions surrounding his political future and his relationship with the GOP.
Joining us right now, Basil Smilke. He is a Democratic strategist and director of the public policy program at Hunter College. Basil, nice to have you back.
Yeah.
And Betsy McCaughey, writer, former lieutenant governor of New York under Republican George Pataki. Betsy, nice to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's talk political fallout.
Yeah.
You know, we know that Donald Trump has raised a lot of money in the last few days,
Yes.
but Betsy, he's facing, court cases all over the country. What is the political fallout?
Well, let's just focus on this one. And the fallout will depend largely on one thing. Will this trial be televised? It should be, so that the public all across the nation can see what the 12 jurors are seeing. They're going to see Bragg's bag of tricks. In my view, it is a bag of tricks. He's sliced and diced 3 transactions into 34 felonies. He's changed misdemeanors into felonies, federal charges into state court. It's a bag of tricks. But the public should see. They should see whether the key witnesses, with or under cross-examination, and they should look at this judge, Mearshon, who is questionable because he's been given every Trump trial so far in New York State and the trial of Steve Bannon, and his daughter Lauren, worked for Kamala Harris in the 2020 election and is now running a business that gets its revenue from the Biden political operation.
Basil,
That's questionable.
Is that a problem?
No, I'm not a lawyer, but let's see this from the point of view of the voter. First of all, the voter's not going to pay attention to all the legal details, the ins and the outs. If we center the voter in this conversation, what they're going to see is Donald Trump, who, by the way, has not denied the charges.
Oh, yes, he did. He's pleaded not guilty.
He hasn't denied that he didn't do anything,
well,
which is different from saying that he's not guilty. No. But he has not denied that he didn't do it. But instead, what he did do was go and attack the judge, attack the district attorney, and go after the families. That's reprehensible. So if you think about what the voter is looking at, what the voter is seeing is a former president who is thinking about running for president again, going through all of these legal battles. What they care about is what's happening at the kitchen table. So as long as Donald Trump can't talk about those issues, they're going to try to look for somebody who is. Hopefully that's a Democrat, but even if it isn't, let's take party off the table. There is an opportunity for somebody to come in and start talking about those issues like inflation, like crime, if they still care about, if they still feel that crime is going on. And we're seeing, and look, just from a Democratic perspective, we're also seeing that Asian Americans are starting to vote, go more to the right because they don't feel Democrats are talking about the issues of crime enough, and we get that. I get that. But that's why it's important to always center the voter in these conversations.
But let me point out, what Basil just said is true. They targeted Trump to get him out of the race. It's clear that was the purpose of this indictment, because even legal experts who have no appreciation, no like for Trump at all, like former Attorney General of the U.S. Bill Barr, said this is an abomination. This is a case held together, in his words, by rubber bands, chicken wire, and paper clips. There's no there.
Betsy, what I'm hearing online, though, might be a little bit different. Some rumblings online that the Democratic Party wanted these indictments to move forward because it would, kind of garner support and sympathy for Trump so that he would win the GOP nomination, but then he would bleed out and hemorrhage while this was all going on.
Well, that's true in a way. You've made a really important point, Bianca, because of the timing. The judge set the next court date for December and the trial sometime early in the following year. That's at the height of the campaign season, and there will be Donald Trump stuck in a courtroom labeled the defendant. So it clearly hurts him politically in the general, if not in the primary. But I'm looking beyond the political consequences for Trump. He's just one guy. The fact is, the nation should be concerned to see a prosecutor of either party use his power to target a politician. In other words, when Bragg appeared before the podium right after the indictment, he said, well, everyone is equal under the law. That was really a lie, sorry, DA, because the fact is an ordinary person wouldn't have been prosecuted for this. And many lawyers have said that. In fact, the Federal Election Commission refused to prosecute him. Cyrus Vance refused to prosecute him.
Basil
They said it wasn't a good trial.
They prosecute this crime often. I mean, John Edwards has a mugshot because he did something very simple, and he was acquitted. But the fact is that he was arrested. There's a mugshot because this crime actually does exist, and it is prosecuted, whether there's a guilty verdict or not. It is a prosecutable crime. So having said that,
usually it's a misdemeanor, not as a felony.
But having said that, we're kind of messing with the order here, because if you're going to say that this wouldn't have happened if Trump were not a presidential candidate, if Trump weren't a candidate, he wouldn't have committed these crimes. That's
he put those bookkeeping entries in before he was even president the first time.
But I do want to ask, though, Basil, your take on this, because Cy Vance had all these same facts and said, not going to move forward with this. This is not something that is a slam dunk for me. Cool. Alvin Bragg kind of walked over it as well. But so why now? I think we keep asking that question, why now? And a lot of people are not able to answer
that's an important question, because there's some good reporting on this too, that when Alvin Bragg got the case, it was actually moribund at that point. It was nothing. But he said, let's go back and start over and see if there's something there. And remember that there were prosecutors in office that left and then attacked him in a book for not moving forward quickly enough. And he didn't even take that bait. He said, look, we're going to stop, we're going to go back, and we're going to look at this a bit more carefully. And
but the people in that book said that there were stronger cases for him to go after. This was not.
This is a DA who downgrades 58% of felonies to misdemeanors to keep people out of jail. And then when he looks at the former president, whom he campaigned on one pledge to get Trump. He didn't have a crime yet. He just had a target.
And we got to say, too, that's according to the Victims Fund, the NYC founder.
Right, but the fact is, that's what he said he would do, just like Letitia James. She shouldn't have done it either. It's a real no-no. It's not part of being an upstanding law enforcement person to say, I'm going after one person no matter what the crime is. That's what they did. But the fact is, now, instead of prosecuting all the criminals out there who are making life difficult for all of us, they're going after the former president.
Basil, you know, this is like everybody's talking about it on the streets. I mean, you know.
So let's talk about that part.
Okay.
One, Alvin Bragg is the third district attorney to hold that seat in 48 years, only the sixth in 80 years. In the man and in the ideology, that diversity represents a threat to some people. For him to campaign on criminal justice reform when the entire country is talking about criminal justice reform, why is that problematic? Now, I understand if people don't feel safe, and I understand if there are some things that we could do, whether it's at the state and local level, to address the crime issue more so than it is now. And I actually get if people feel that way, quite frankly. But to say that Alvin Bragg has a political agenda to go after a former president of the United States when there is a Department of Justice investigation, when there's an investigation in Georgia, when in the state of Wisconsin, a Democrat won for the Supreme Court position against an election denier, there's a lot out there that has nothing to do with Alvin Bragg. That we have it. No, I'm not mixing up cases. What I'm doing is centering.
He may be guilty in some of those, but he's not guilty in this one. And we have to take each case.
When you're centering the voter, again, like I always try to do, what is the voter going to see? They're going to see someone who is constantly in and out of court.
That's right.
Constantly
persecuted by the other party.
Does he have,
attacking people?
So what happens to the Republican Party? Because let's face it, you know, I mean, does Ron DeSantis have a shot? Who has a shot in the Republican Party?
A lot of people do. It's good. The Republicans have a big bench this year. It's terrific. So many viable candidates. So many people who would do a good job.
But do they have a shot? Because Basil, he's raising money. People obviously support him.
That's right. But look at DeSantis, Nikki Haley, the former Secretary of State.
But Trump's beating them in double digits in terms of polling.
That's right. That's right. They are. But the Republican Party has a big bench. They're not panicking. When you look at the Democratic Party, unfortunately, if Joe Biden doesn't run, who's out there? Nobody's even saying I'm interested.
Well, why would you undermine the sitting president of the United States by trying to get somebody else?
He lacks mental acuity.
What?
Sorry, just watch him at the podium. The guy's too old. He's a lovely man, but he's
infrastructure
too
bill, reducing the prices of insulin. Yeah, he's actually doing pretty well.
I'm just talking facts. He can't walk up the stairs anymore.
2022 midterm elections, Democrats actually held their own. We're able to
Basil,
get disaffected Republican and independents to come to the Democratic side. He's doing fine.
Yeah.
The difficulty is making sure that we hold that coalition going into 2024.
Yeah.
And that's why I always go back to, let's talk to the voter about what they're experiencing in their homes, in their communities right now. If we continue to do that, don't talk about Donald Trump, quite frankly. If you see a boulder rolling down the hill, do not get in its way.
Yeah, Basil Smilke, Betsy McCaughey. I have to say, the two of you together,
about this, Basil.
you both have interesting points and perspectives.
And I love that they can both talk it out and not get,
We're friends.
personal. Yeah,
By the way,
I really
this is
appreciate
what it was
Yes.
years ago.
I
You
appreciate
should have dinner with somebody
Okay.
from the opposite party.
And you
have
didn't
fun.
cancel one another.
No, we
You
cancel
had a
one another.
discussion, and you both aired out your feelings. I love it.
I do too.
We're going old school on Good Day New York.
Let's take it around the country.
Has nothing to do with our age, by the way.